Good evening, everyone. Tonight, our speaker will be Travis Marsot. Travis has been with us for a number of years. He's also our treasurer and serves on the board. I think a lot of you already know Travis. Travis, do you have a title for today's talk?
Non-duality.
Non-duality. Great. I'm going to spotlight you so you can go back to gallery view if you want to see everyone. And welcome, Travis.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So we just chanted loving kindness meditation, and very prominently in our Zen tradition is the concept of non-duality. And you can hear in loving kindness meditation references, notably, to be freed from the duality of birth and death is one. But even earlier on, we heard one who has obtained peace, one who seeks the good and has obtained peace. So I'd like to explore that a little bit tonight. I love to snowboard with my family, and I've always liked to snowboard since I first discovered it when I was 19. But it's much more enjoyable to share it. And now that the family has been going to the mountains for many years, and my daughters and my wife are now skilled enough where I don't feel like I'm training them anymore. It's immensely enjoyable, immensely satisfying. So I like to snowboard. I like to be with my family, and the combination of the two is it's not two and it's not one. And I think about what attracted me to snowboarding. And it is not two and not one. There are you're probably familiar. There are two edges to the snowboard, and you ride both of those edges, and you're committed to that board. You're strapped into it. It's a little different than skiing. At the end of the last season, I bought a new board, and I've been riding it this season. And what's notable about this board is that it does not have a directional bias. So it's what's called a true twin tip. That's to say that, if you were to ride it with your left foot forward or your right foot forward, there's really nothing different about the board in either direction. And that's the first time I've ridden that type of board. Snowboarding is really kind of a controlled kind of falling. And when you do it well, you get the sensation that you're really like on the edge of a knife. There's not a lot of sliding. It's just more like the edge just cuts cleanly through the snow. And in Zen, we talk about uprightness and posture, being straight. With snowboarding, there really is two uprightnesses. There's the uprightness on the board, the stance and the weight distribution on the board, and then your relationship to gravity, how you are relative to the mountain and the incline. You can be upright with gravity, and it can act as a brake where you're pushing on the back of the board. So what I noticed with this new board was with that neutral stance, I could get into a uprightness with the board and be riding very clean, not on my back foot, not on my front foot, weight evenly distributed, carving a very nice edge. But because I did not have, that lean back, I could tend to fall forward. I could catch an edge and fall forward, and I could get going very fast and do that. So before Christmas, I had an accident where I hit my right shoulder, and when I did that, I reached out and kind of hit the ground. I was in the air, and then I hit the ground, and I did damage to the cartilage in my right shoulder, and it was very painful. For weeks I had difficulty. The worst difficulty was putting on socks, because I had also hurt my left thumb. So in the interim, I started writing the other way. I'm left-handed, so my left foot forward is my non-dominant side, and so I would ride with my wife, and I would mirror her riding, and that was very pleasurable, to feel what she was feeling, and I'm much less skilled at it, and I thought about the technique of when you're riding, not to put your hands out, not to put your elbows out, just to let yourself fall. And Sunday I was riding alone on a run that I had done many times, and I was going too fast, and it was later in the day, and it was very icy, and the visibility conditions were very flat. It wasn't busy or crowded. It wasn't steep, but I got into a situation where I was kind of moving in one direction, and tried to correct and go the other direction. And what happened was the front edge, I was probably going 30 or 40 miles an hour, caught, and I tumbled forward instantly, and hit this shoulder. And I was by myself, and I thought, I've got to be able to drive home. And the pain was exquisite. So this shoulder was just recovering, and this shoulder was swelling up. You can't favor it when you don't have one good shoulder. And I was able to get home with the driving with the recovering shoulder. So there was a period of 24 or 48 hours where the pain was much more severe on the left shoulder, but I didn't put the elbow out. So structurally, just the bruising and everything was what I was dealing with. And today, the left shoulder is better than the right shoulder, which is going to take months of rehab. So what does this have to do with non-duality? This type of balance, not left, not right, and the approach of seeing things as they are, I think in talking with folks, there could be a misconception about certain activities as risky or excessive. For me, snowboarding with my family is a life goal. It's something I've worked for many, many years. And it goes beyond skills. My children are now teenagers. And part of why I commit to doing, days in the mountains is so they want to snowboard with me. But it's more than the snowboarding. I have to work so that they will want to be with me after they don't have to be. And snowboarding was my teenage conception in some ways of an activity that would be enjoyable and that they would want, and that others would be interested in enjoying with me. And there may be a time when I can't do it anymore, but that just renews my sense of purpose and meaning in the activity. And when I do it, I'm completely there on that board, and the attention, which is near complete, just wavered, just wobbled a little bit, and I accept that. It's part of it. I'm going to make I'm going to talk about what Zen is, or I'm going to say what Zen is. And some people say it's something you can't say, or sometimes you might hear those that know don't say. But I've been thinking a lot about how to be a modern Zen student, and if a modernist or classic modern thinker was to ask what Zen was with absolutely no understanding of culture or Zen traditions, what I would say. And it's very short. Zen is natural humanism. Natural humanism. And that's a non-dual set. And of course, it's just words. And there are other types of humanistic ideas. But we prize naturalness in this tradition. And in the tradition of the historical Buddha, this working to awaken to not only awaken for ourselves, but to awaken for others and to serve others. And in modern times, we have conceptions of a global community, of a finite earth and an interconnectivity that's very amenable and consistent with Buddhist teachings. You know, the Bodhisattva path is it's a long, it can be a long path. But I think when I think about the humanistic aspects of aspiring to help and to serve others as being humanistic, maybe a traditional or ancient form of humanism. And because it's natural, it is neither perfectly open or closed, but natural. And the natural piece of it is it's just what is, it's that isness. I very much enjoy Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, as many of you do. And there is a well-known passage called The Joy of Giving. And I want to point out the non-duality of a particular section as Suzuki Roshi delivered it, because we have the original transcriptions of it from David Chadwick's Cuke.com. You can actually compare it to the published version. So I'll read the Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind edited version, and then I'll read the transcript. So here's towards the end of that chapter. And we should forget day by day what we have done. This is true non-attachment. And we should do something new. To do something new, of course, we must know our past, and this is all right. But we should not keep holding on to anything we have done. We should only reflect on it. And we must have some idea of what we should do in the future. And here's the transcript, the unedited version. When we die, everything is over. Even though we do not die, day by day, we should forget what we did. This is non-attachment. And we should do something new. To do something new, we should know our past and future. This is all right, but we should not keep anything which we did. We should only reflect on what we did. That's all. And we must have some idea of what we should do in the future. It's a little different. Non-duality may be it may be something that editors don't like, because it's because our minds like definition, and yet when you find something that really resonates, chances are that it has some aspect of non-duality. Kathy Early gave a wonderful course on sutras on Saturday, and she gave the sutra that she discussed was called the Lion, and at the end, it was the last line, and there are oftentimes very beautiful terms for how they address the Buddha himself. And in this one, in this particular sutra, he was referred to as the stable released one. The stable released one. Again, I feel such joy when I hear certain combinations of concepts that kind of undo my my preconceptions or definitions. It's that's one that got me. It's like there's a tension and a release. It's wonderful. So that's our lives, and that's how we live. We can try to define it. We can think ourselves into a position, but we all have to find a way, not just with the practice, but with our actual lives, to find some stability and some freedom. And we're not alone in this, you know. The Sangha is even through this time of isolation, you know, to be able to talk and to share stories and to show up for each other is not two and not one. I think it would help if I stop now and answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Travis. We're now open for questions. William?
Thank you, Travis, for your talk. Can you say more for the expression that really got your attention about the stable? What was it again?
Yeah, sure. The stable released one.
Stable released one. Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought of a horse stable, so I got distracted.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Could you please tell me why that caught your attention again, please?
Sure. Thank you for your question, William. Yeah, so I work as a technical manager. I've been in mechanical engineering now for a number of years, and initially, why did that tickle me so? I think the idea of release for me is similar, at least in my thoughts, to an unconstrained object. So something that is released can move, right, and is potentially unstable. So those two terms juxtaposed did something where, in that, after that beautiful sutra, that I can only say it resonated with me, right? Resonance, that term resonance implies polarity. And, that there's a sublimeness to that when a piece of poetry, which, the sutras are, in many ways a type of poetry, they can move you like that, or resonate with you like that. So that's how I saw it. Thank you, William.
Richard? You can also hold the space bar down. Oh, there you go. You got it.
Is that all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you.
You you froze for a second.
The
But go ahead.
quote you read from what?
You're back now. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, thanks for your talk. The passage you read from Suzuki Roshi, the two versions of it, to let go of the past and the future, to live each day. Are there any practice or ritual that you do in the morning or at night, to the beginning and the end of the day, as a reminder to live that one day? Just if you do, if you could share, something that you might find helpful, that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. My morning Zazen routine has been very stabilizing over the past several years. But I want to come back to these injuries, and particularly the last 3 or 4 days, because I couldn't sleep well, and I had to lie on my back, and every time I would turn my shoulders, I would have pain, and then it was hard to dress. It was hard to brush my teeth. So in a way, it's, it was unfortunate that I got hurt, but I found a lot of mindfulness in the routines themselves, in the way that I had to hold the toothbrush so I could brush my teeth without hurting my thumb. And the way I would I would choose a button-down shirt and choose which shoulder to put on first. And through that process, it's so fresh to my mind now of how much we can take, day by day, and just focus on the things that are less comfortable. Les said last week, if you are too comfortable, you might be wasting your time. And I really felt that in these last few days, that just to accept the situation that I'm in, to understand it, to know that it will pass. It's transitory. And to also be able to look forward. And what I look forward to a lot, more and more this year now, is the point in time when we can all be together again. Thank you.
David.
Thank you for your talk, Travis. I don't know you, but for many years before I got to be a geezer, I was a pretty aggressive skier. That was just before snowboards came in. And had many occasions to take friends up and try to teach them how to ski. And the aphorism gained wisdom that you shouldn't try to teach your significant other how to ski. It requires a huge amount of trust in a pretty clearly hazardous situation. So I congratulate you on your courage for keeping your family together. But I had a question about a point in teaching to ski is that you have to learn to lean downhill to keep the weight on the tips of the skis. And as a beginner skier, especially as the slope gets steeper, your body just totally rebels. The last thing in the world that makes any sense is to lean downhill. And it takes a lot of falling and a lot of experience to learn that downhill might seem like a bad idea, but leaning back is worse. I wonder if you've had how you might apply that idea to your experience in Zen and perhaps bringing others along in the practice. This idea of it's the last thing my body ever wants to do.
That's well said, and that's accepting that you're falling, accepting that you're going downhill, and letting go of an idea that you can stop, at least stop in a kind of familiar way, or maybe more intuitive way. If we're spending most of our time upright and walking, that we can just drop, throw our heels back and stop. Yeah. My wife has been snowboarding for 20 plus years. And it's really just in the last few years that she's accepted that, leaning downhill. There's a thing in snowboarding that a term of a certain style called falling leaf. And in falling leaf, you essentially, what most people do is they'll stay on their back edge and they'll just go down the hill with kind of like the way you would, spread butter on bread. And so that's the opposite of the clean type of skiing or snowboarding that I think is so satisfying. But yes, to take that process and think about it now, it's one of the hardest things I have done in my life, to get the equipment ready, to drive the young kids up, to put up with the temper tantrums for over a decade, but with that idea that this was an activity that was worth it. And nowadays I tell my daughters, you don't have to love snowboarding like I do, but you should find something in life that you love that much. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Dave?
Yes, Travis, your description of skiing or snowboarding as sort of continuously falling downhill, and you just have to get used to the idea that that's how you sort of progress down the hill on your skis. Kind of reminds me of the term that Dogen used, shoshaku jushaku, one continuous mistake or failing after another. And Suzuki Roshi noted, he says, this could actually be Zen.
Yeah. And when you're writing, it's very, I'm going to use a logical term, but it's very inductive in that you ride with your feelings, you ride with your vision, you ride in watching. You're looking at the snow, but you're also you're processing it all simultaneously. You may be projecting out, but really just a few falls away, and yeah, one continuous type of falling, and the peace that I feel when I'm in that when I'm writing is also in part tempered by an idea of progress. I think it's natural to want to get better. I think it's natural to work on things. And the humanistic side of Zen is it starts with us. We can work on ourselves, and we can make progress. But that balance, between being at peace and to be also looking for improvement. I think I think that I was in love with snowboarding before I had ideas or concepts of non-duality. I can't hear you, Dave.
I guess sometimes the love precedes the concepts and ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. Thanks, Dave.
Any other questions for Travis? Vanessa.
Maybe this is a kind of funny question, but do you like to ever indulge yourself in a kind of duality also? Or is there an appropriate time for duality?
Well, what comes immediately to mind is that first trip in Colorado. I was in school at the Air Force Academy, and they had a very active ski club. And we went to some place up in Summit County, maybe it was Breckenridge or something, but I saw the mountains, and I had grown up in Iowa. So I was completely, this is completely new for me. The beauty, just the staggering beauty of it. And then this is, in the 90s. So you would have had like houses at the base of the mountain being built. And I was completely amazed by this, that someone could live on the mountain, and I had to find a way to do that. So, what is the means to be able to do that? Pure progress, probably, from where I was. I knew I wasn't going to get there with on the course I was on, but I think careers are built on ideas of progressing, and particularly in the Silicon Valley, like, I know that like we're pushed to launch products and to create value. And so, yeah, I think I both have gone on long, extended dualistic missions, I guess. And I think that, what's so compelling about Zen is it very directly just lays out, as I said before with the loving kindness, it's one who seeks the good and has obtained peace. And they're not completely, in alignment. It takes you in two directions, and you seek the good, and I can make a rationale for why my job does good. I could tell you a poignant, story about seeing a robotic surgery of a liver resection that would have saved my grandfather's life. I've seen that video, and my mother has told me, all of the details about my grandfather's liver cancer that was inoperable in 1985. But there's a limit. There's a limit to that seeking. And what this practice has done for me is not to discard anything, but to include a deeper sense of what is enough and what is sustaining for me and what is sustaining for all of us. It makes me sad to think about climate change and the inability for, maybe my granddaughters or, my children's children to do the same sorts of things that I do and enjoy. But without those fixed views, we wouldn't have. I don't believe we would have even the ability to talk and to share. And so that's why I think you know, Vanessa, you as a writer, obviously, you play with that definition and ambiguity all the time. Constraint and release.
Travis, I have an open-ended question. So the part I liked about your talk the most, or that resonated with me, was when you said, do something new. And to do something new, we need to be aware of our past, but not attached to it. And that resonates with me. I find I always want to expand myself and feel like I'm growing. And it's not about excitement or thrill seeking. It's more like feeling like I'm expanding. I don't like the feeling of being stuck in a rut or feeling stagnant. I like the feeling that I'm growing and learning. And I was just wondering, like, what does that mean to you to try something new or to do something new?
Well, the ability to do something new is, it's life itself. You know, it's what living is, and I don't think it can be considered anything less than that. When you see, you know, in the spring after the rains, you see new growth, and you feel that we are in our existence that same way, that we're growing and aging, and my daughter took the SAT this week, or the pre-SAT, and she was going through the same sort of anxiety that I felt when I was a kid. But at the same time, I could see that she wasn't showing it, and that perspective of, you know, being a parent, having the concern for her, but knowing that it's a step along the way, and there's constraints in society. We have to take tests. We have to push through and be something recognizable within the culture for some practical reason, but that we don't have to hold that so tightly, you know. And that she comes back and she's like, I think I aced the math part. And I thought, of course you did, because you're taking all of these math classes that I took, that I either never took or took, you know, much later in life. And then I was thinking like, should we have pushed her to take those classes? I mean, she was eligible to take those classes, but maybe that's too much. And then I thought, well, you know, she's being also in this community, in her school district, in amongst her peers. There is a cultural push to you know, do this type of study younger and younger. And so I think my main point is, I think we have to be really careful about what we take on, and know that, you know, novelty or new, doing something new is available to us if we don't get hypnotized by either the kind of the mechanical aspects. You know, if you have to, now that we're sheltering in place, like I don't think about it so much anymore, but probably Bonnie, you felt like those first few months of working at home, you could feel like what it was like to not have that commute, and like how mechanical the commute was, and how much you just sort of like lumped it and said, oh well, that's a half hour or 45 minutes of the day that I just have to be in the car. Um, and then when that was not there, it was like, wow.
Never going back. Never going back.
Yeah, and that's if you're lucky, right? Some people have longer commutes. Yeah, I mean, we all have a relationship with that, and as I like have put a lot of time in to both my career and into parenting now, I think more about, as I've seen the opportunity to do new things later in life, just being very like open-minded about what's possible, and to think differently, and to think and to reach out to other people who've gone through this transition.
Thank you. Any last questions for Travis before we close for tonight? All right, well, thank you, Travis, for your talk.
Thank you.
Do we have any announcements tonight?
Yes, our guest speaker next week will be Jean-Yves Leclerc, who is a student of Les, and I never got the chance to meet him, and I'm sure some of you know him. He lives in France now, and he's running a Zen center there. So he'll be speaking next week. And I think that's all. We don't have anything this coming Saturday apart from the regular service.
Thank you, Teresa. Any other announcements? So we are officially closed for the evening. Feel free to drop off, or you can stay and hang out for a few minutes if you'd like.